My name's Steve Cleaver, and I'll tell more about myself in my sermon because it's pertains somewhat. There's my friend back there. How are you doing? Anyway, known her for a long time. Um, and so Jackson asked me to come here and do the message today. And I said, would you do something for these people in the morning? Because I don't know what to do with. No, he didn't say that. I said that. But I also, I grew up in a Quaker family, long lineage of Quakers, but also I'm a yoga teacher. And I found that the two, I've been a yoga teacher for 20 years. I keep studying that there's a lot of ties that come to, there's a lot of interweaving. I could take us on the yogic path and tie in nonviolence, ahimsa, blah, blah, blah. So I just want to say that all these things that I know I've learned have started to come together. One of the things that I want to ask a question right now, because we're going to do something called a meta meditation. Has anyone ever done one of those before?
Jackson led us through one.
Okay, probably a week ago, right? And I was like, this guy's coming, but I've already done it better. And he had a crystal bowl. Anyway, I want you to, we're going to start with just a few minutes of discussion. Where do you find compassion? If I were to ask you to connect with compassion, love, if we're connecting with our inner child, we can even talk about that, still small voice, however you want to, where do you and how do you connect with that? Okay, hold on one sec. Okay, everyone take a minute though, just a minute. I know you compost, so it's nature. Anyway, just take a moment and is there a place, is it within, and we'll start with you, nature, right? Okay, I figured you'd say, no. Who else wants to go? Oh yeah, what? Okay, and if I haven't met you, if you say, what's your name?
I'm Sue.
Sue, okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Well, when I come to Fairfield, I think of Rebecca Alexander, and I look around the room, and Sue's the only person I know. I don't know any of the rest of them. Maybe some of you know me. But Rebecca,
you know me.
Huh?
You know me.
Over here.
Oh, okay.
I know you know me.
Well, and you haven't been at Fairfield long enough to remember, but Rebecca in her house down here, which I don't know whether still stands or not, but on the second floor, she had a little room. I never saw it, but she would describe it when we were here at USW or something, where she would go away to be look out over the farmland.
Yeah.
Well, I would have to say music for sure, nature, yeah.
Okay.
What did she say?
Oh,
Music, nature.
I knew I'd like people.
Other things? Yeah. Creativity. Okay. Give me an example, if you can. You're a quilter. Okay. Did you make that quilt in there? That's okay.
She made the little bitty one on the bulletin board though for a preemie baby.
Okay. Nice. Okay. You were going to say something.
February through November, it's out in the dirt.
Okay.
In the yard. During the winter, I have a wood stove. Which cold place, and the fire's going. Just right there.
Okay. Anybody else want to?
I'd say have some kindness with other people.
Okay. Okay. You'll all love the interpretive dance I'm going to lead you into. Yeah, I'm kidding. Well, I asked that question, and I'm going to talk a little bit about, and then lead into this meta meditation, because we're often, we're in a time, I think, that's incredibly distracting, that's in pulling us into fear, is purposely pulling us to fear, I believe. And those of you, does anyone not have a cell phone? Do we have a, so, I'm old enough, I grew up without a cell phone, grew up in a house with, and if I were to bring it here, if I brought that phone here, it'd be a long cord. But this gives us sometimes there's a hit of whatever, serotonin, endorphins when we get, but it's also takes away. And so how do we, my question won't just be for this meditation, how do we come into that space if, when we come into Quaker worship, if we're supposed to be listening and we're distracted, how many people put their phone next to them during worship? Anybody? There are people, and I have done it. I swear. And then you're like checking the time or what. I go to unprogrammed worship also, so like and I'm like, no, you can't do that. And that doesn't mean if I had an emergency or something I had to keep track of, that would be a little different. But and so how we connect with that, how we continue to connect with that is really important. And we're in a time, as I said, I teach yoga, and some of the things I teach, I've realized, like, it's not just, yoga is not just asana. Does everyone know that asana is the postures? It's, a lot more. It's breath, it's meditation, and it's beyond that, really. It's about awareness, though. And what I realize is, one, everybody's coming from different places. Even this morning, one of you may have left a sick animal or a whatever, or something, and it's on your brain right now, right? And you're like, but you're not there. So we have those things, and how do we come together? And that's palpable in a group. So when you come into group worship, we're bringing that energy together, right? That energy comes together. And then you have all the family system stuff, which I won't get into, but so my point is, how do we then, and so most of our nervous systems are overstimulated. Now, that doesn't sound like a very religious concept, but it really is. It's a very spiritual piece too, is that, it's not just, oh, let's sit and wait for that of God, right? Okay, I'll sit here. And then your brain's going, how do I come into that space to do that? So I do a couple things, but we're going to do this one thing this morning. And I gave you a handout, and really, you can Google all these things and find more about them and whatever. And I keep learning stuff, and there's so much. But this is called, there's variations on this, but you'll find books on this, the havening technique, right, Anne? Anne taught it, I know, a week ago when you did the meditation. No, I'm kidding. So one of the things to bring us into the present is what? How do you bring yourself into the present? Is there any thoughts?
I think silence.
Okay. But silence can also bring up a lot of noise, right? So there are a lot of people who will say, like, I'm in meditation and it's noisy and I'm hearing all these, not, you know what I mean? Like, things come up. So there is that as well, which is fine. As that comes up and you're sitting there, then that's under the surface. Some people live near an airport, not you people, but some people, and you forget it's there, but it is there. So this, I'm just touch. So if you just come back into the body, that's a way of connecting to the present. How you doing, Mary Jo?
Middle finger was out of frame.
Oh, you missed my middle finger. My finger, something. No, it wasn't my middle finger. This isn't on tape. So this is one variation. Just take your hands like this. And all you do is just move the hands down. That's one part. So now I'm connecting with myself. I know if you were sitting in a Quaker meeting and you start doing this, do people go, but there's other things too. And you're thinking at the same time, and you might start, has anyone ever done EFT, EMDR? Has anyone ever been to the ER? No, I'm kidding. So there are variations of things to work the nervous system. So you start at where you're at and you check, like, if you come into meeting and you're feeling like this, well, how can you settle? And it's not just, okay, go listen to that of God, and then you go, okay. And so sometimes there are techniques. This is another one. Everyone take your hands like this. we do this in yoga on the ground, and you take your eyes forward, your head forward. And if you can't do the arms, you don't do the arms. Don't do them. And then take the eyes to the right and you hold. And I won't do it as long. You do it for about a minute and then you go to the left for a minute. You can bring your arms down. We won't come into that completely. You do a minute on each side. It stimulates the vagus nerve. And my joke is always what happens in the vagus nerve stays in the vagus nerve. But by stimulating that, that's the relaxation in our bodies. So I think the other thing is, as a Quaker, sometimes there's these expectations and you're like, but I have a body also, right? Seriously, like I grew up and I'm programmed, and it's like sometimes there's that missing part. And so recognizing that if you come into a situation and you can do things to relax and come into a space, if you're in fight or flight, are you going to be present? No, you're going to fight somebody. I almost did because she was taking one of the cookies. No, I'm kidding. But that's what happens, and people aren't present. So there's a lot of work done so we can socially engage with other people. And by coming into a place of relaxation, we can do that. The same goes for worship. If you're not present in corporate worship, right, then, and you're all over, if you do look at it as an energetic system, that's palpable in the system. That's not a bad thing. Sometimes we're grieving, right? If someone's grieving in a system, we want to help them. We don't want to, so there's all parts of this. I'm not saying that those emotions they're things that move through us, but there's also times where we just need to settle ourselves. We've driven here and somebody yelled at us when we were coming out and then this and that, right? And how can we relax to be present, to really listen? So that's the first part. And I put the havening technique. There's plenty. I do this one. Stephen Porges' work. Has anyone ever heard of Stephen Porges? On the vagus nerve. He was the first his book is like the seminal book. And now there's this books and books. And then if you're on Amazon, you can just find books, like there's a million, because people have learned they can make money by just doing AI books, honestly. But don't get them. I say that, I shouldn't say that. No, I should say that, because I think, it's just, we want to support artists. That's a whole nother thing I would get into, but supporting local artists is, I think, crucial now. I know I go off on tangents, don't I? And you should see my sermon.
You'll have to come back another time.
Yeah. All right. So meditation. One of the things for me, if you want to choose to, Thich Nhat Hanh would say, whatever seeds you plant are going to be what grows. So if you want to plant seeds of anger, go for it. That's your choice. I'm not saying I suggest that. I'm saying you get the option. But if you're seeing anger showing up, you're probably planting seeds. You're helping that to move along. I'm not saying that anger, we move through anger. It's a part of everything. It moves us sometimes. But if you're continuing with that, to me, compassion, love, however, and that's why I asked you, how do you even connect with that? Because as you can see, it's different for different people. Now, I'll ask people in a yoga class to hold their hand here, and that often can bring them into a connection somatically with compassion. Doesn't mean it does it for everybody. Doesn't mean you can always find it, right? But if you can, to find that place within, because that's where, that's the whole, I'm going to go way off on tangents, all right? So the whole message of, Jesus' message is Jesus is within, right? That light within that, and so that's the peace we're cultivating, not to get it from some external, but from ourselves, and to learn that. And so with the meditation, we always start with ourselves, the saying about you're in an airplane and it's going down, if it's going down to the oxygen, whatever, but get your oxygen first and then help other people. And it's true. That's the true if you're going to help people. And the other thing, and I might make it in my sermon, but you're not here to fix other people. You're here to work on yourself. Just, that's my learning. Anything I say today, by the way, caveat there, you can just ignore all of it. If it doesn't resonate, don't bother. But that fixing thing, I tell you, that comes from our own place of brokenness, and it means something in me I need to look at. Doesn't mean I can't help people, I can't support them. From a pastoral care standpoint, I probably should wait till they ask for something than just to try to give it. I could go into a story on that, but I won't. So I wanted to do a meta meditation. What time?
You're good. You're good.
Okay.
I'm just going to share it on the screen for Mary Jo.
And because there are people that will start their day, end their day with this meditation. And because, and when you look at the world, is there anyone in the world you just can't stand?
No.
Okay. And I mean, I'll go on Facebook. I admit I post political stuff, and it can be toxic. You get in there and you're like, I gotta tell everybody this is going on. And there are reasons to do that. There are reasons, I think, and that's just my feeling, because you do support other people sometimes. But if there have been times, especially before the election, where I could feel it's not healthy for me. And so, but with any of those people, wishing someone or holding them or wanting loving kindness for them is not the same as accepting their behavior. Does that make sense? That wishing holding someone in loving kindness, the most damage, the people doing the most damage are deeply damaged people. It doesn't mean they may not need more therapy that could be given, or prison for that matter, for some people. But if we hold them in loving kindness, we're not carrying that, because they don't, we're carrying loving kindness. And again, it doesn't mean we allow them even in our house. That doesn't mean, there are limits, but we can hold people in loving kindness. And anytime you do a loving kindness meditation, this space you bring them into is sacred and safe space. So that to remember as well. So you could bring, and I won't mention names in, but you can bring people in there and know that it's a safe space. You can bring people into loving kindness. It doesn't do you any good to, So I just say that. And then there are times where we have estrangements from people for different reasons. We can bring them in as well. It doesn't mean, it's bringing that love in and holding all beings with that. So I just say that. And so this meta meditation, a loving kindness meditation, and if you Google this, you'll find all sorts of variations as well, just to say that, like, I am not the source of all things meta meditation or anything, because there's just so much. You find what resonates with you. But what I want you to do first is to take maybe, and there's a definition of that up here. But again, I took this from a website called the Meta Institute. I don't even know how, it seems definite, but there's so much now out there. I just say that to say, discern, look, simplify. You don't need 200 books on meditation. I've got them. Trust me. I do. I have probably at least 200 books on yoga. But really, truthfully, it comes down to some very basics. You could never read a book on meditation and you could understand it and live into it. But some of that's my intellectual need, honestly, but then the heartfelt need. So I will tell, well, I have a little time. I will tell you one other thing. One of my life journeys is to bring my heart and head together. And that's a lot of people, but I have double simian lines, which means my birth line and my heart line are the same, or my lifeline and my heart line are the same on both hands. You can look it up. So anyway, that's all I'll say. That you don't have to kick me out of the meeting for having double simian lines. Actually, you should be inclusive. I'm probably the only one here. So let's practice a meditation. And I think if you want to, I'll start but let me just explain what we're doing. And anything that comes up is valuable. You know, anything that comes up is just like, oh, that came up. Great. Even if it's some that came up, oh, good. Now I know that's going on in there, right? Whatever it is valuable information. So if you can close your eyes. And I just want you to bring, and this is why I asked you, but if you can bring it into your heart space, a feeling of compassion. So if that means bringing in a piece of music, bringing in some creativity, bringing in a friend you knew here, that can be the way you feel compassion internally. So bring that feeling of compassion in. Just bring that in. And you can always, you can continue to do is think of your heart space maybe as a cast iron pot, and you just keep seasoning it with compassion and love. So then I want you to bring into your sort of awareness this being called you, called the person you are, how you experience your energy, not your title, not, all the things that attach to a biography, but you, your energy. And I want you to bring that energy into this heart space where you have compassion and love, where you feel this deep compassion. So bring that being of you into that space. And there's all different kinds of sayings, but I'm going to use these today. And to think also that suffering comes from a Buddhist standpoint, from attachment. So, people can have pain, but not suffering. Pain is sort of inevitable in some ways. So these 4 thoughts say to yourself, about yourself, this energy. May I be happy. May I be supported on my journey. May I feel loved and loved. And may I be free from suffering. And just hold that being there. There is nothing to be gained from suffering. And so now bring into your heart space someone, it can be a person, it could be an animal, it could be a pet, that you love deeply. Just bring them into your consciousness. And then bring them into your heart space. Just bring that person. Maybe they're here in the room. Maybe you haven't seen them for a while. They don't even have to exist on the earthly plane. May they be happy. May they be supported on their journey. May they feel love and loved. May they be free from suffering. And then bring into your heart space. And there's 2 kind of interesting ones, but we're going to bring, the first will be a little easier, but just someone we'll say that you've met them today, but maybe someone even you move along the way is, today you go to the convenience store and there's someone behind the counter, but someone you really don't know. Maybe as you go to that convenience store today, you can hold this in your mind. May they be happy. May they be supported on their journey. May they feel love and loved. May they be free from suffering. We can all feel suffering in others. We all feel, I think, sometimes I feel too much. And so knowing that heart space is a safe space, bring into that heart space someone you're disconnected from. There could be maybe there was an argument, maybe there was just a distance, maybe all sorts of things. And they're responsible for their behavior, but you can still hold them in love. May they be happy. May they be supported on their journey. You don't know why someone has the journey they have. May they feel love and loved. And may they be free from suffering. just holding the space, expand out, and we can expand out to this whole meeting congregation. Just the whole meeting. Some will be here today, some won't. Some may have wanted to be here, some may be on Zoom, but are connected. And bring them into your heart space, all of them, even though ones you may not know or hardly met. May they be happy. May they be supported on their journey. May they feel loved and loved. May they be free from suffering. And just holding in that space, and again, a reminder as you go forward in the day to, it's cultivating loving kindness for each being we come in contact with is a way of connecting with that of God or spirit, however you view it. Words sometimes limit, and I'm a writer. And now just bring into your space every sentient being, every being with life force, however you view that. That includes you, by the way. May they be happy. May they be supported on their journey. May they feel love and loved. May they be free. So, just holding this space for a moment and understanding and love and compassion and seeing how do you carry that with you. Not just in the service, because I want you to be loving and compassionate during the service, but afterwards as well. You can open your eyes if you want to ding the, since we didn't do, we don't have to do it.
Ding the bell.
Yeah, we can just, but we'll wait. Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Go for it. Yeah. We might as well. We haven't been able to.
It's a lovely one.
Yeah, no, I love them.
We'll invite the sound of the bell 3 times. May the vibrations ring out into the universe, helping all beings awaken to love and kindness.
Oh, we have a little bit of time, I think, right?
Yeah.
So thoughts, questions, anything that arises out of what we did? My work is, I would do it for, what? No, I'm working at Ivy Tech, but I've done it pretty much all ages. You can work the words for little kids, and you could do, yeah, you would do it. I could do it for the school. I don't, I'm not there anymore. But yeah, and I'll talk about that in my sermon. If they didn't kick me out, well, they didn't. But you could do, all ages, really. Yeah.
You said in the meditation might bring in somebody that you hate, and how it's a safe place. How does that affect?
I can think of certain people in the world, that, and I don't know. It certainly takes from us that we're holding something. If we're feeling that, we're holding that, right? So when I think of certain leaders, for instance, I may feel a lot of strong emotions, but that's me. That person isn't feeling them. And so is it destructive to me? Is it, is that doing something to me as part of it? Now, what it does for them, certainly if you go, trying to think of an example. Well, I'll give you another example, which is somewhat, but not. There was a guy, Fred Donaldson, and he wrote a book, I think, Playing by Heart, and he would play with big game animals, right? Like, when I say lions, tigers, bears. Echo.
After an hour.
Oh, that laugh. Oh my God. Okay, good. So But what he would say is he would go into a cage with a lion and he would play and play being healthy. Like there's an international, like sort of there's a language of play. Little kids understand. He would work with kids who had been abused, et cetera, to develop play. Play is important. And he said, when I go in with he went in with this one animal, and all of a sudden the animal was on, top, and blah, blah, blah. He said, I have to see the beyond category and see two faces of God. So if we believe there is that of God or that of divine in everyone, how do we connect to that? Obviously, it's pretty lost in some people, I would say, but that's also how deeply damaged they are.
But so it's more for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I would not go into, like there are people, I'll talk about Peace Pilgrim today. Has anyone ever heard of Peace Pilgrim? Okay. Well, you two know it, and you knew Peace Pilgrim. No, I'm kidding. But she would just trust everything. Now, would I be able to do that? Maybe not, so you have to be, but yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Safe. That other person in.
Asking how it is a safe place for you to play.
Because during this exercise of technique, classes we use, particularly with trauma, and that need to reconcile the damage that's done. And so one of the techniques considered that kind of so I considered the very back of the severe, you're running around there, remote control. So you can play whatever you play that move, but you can stop it. You can back it up. You don't have to watch the whole thing. But it also allows you to go in and change points. So for some people, that was a step before this kind of step. Also safe. I think it's some damage.
And you can bring whoever you want, so you choose. Like that's important too,
When I've done meta with folks who have never done it before, and we go into and now think of someone you hate or you dislike, the tendency is to go for like the biggest villain in our lives, and it's like, don't start there.
Yeah, that's a good.
You gotta work up to it. It's like resistance training, right? You can try to lift 300 pounds, but you don't have to start with yeah. Because we want to start. Oh, I want to feel loving kindness towards everybody, especially the people I feel the least towards. But it's hard. It's really hard.
People in my life, it's very difficult. In my life that mental, mental disability. And one person in particular worked with a group of intelligence group that provided Bible stories for people over 10 years. And she just the most stubborn and angry and judgmental. And she has virtually no one in her life because she pushes people away. She refuses to avail herself of the services that could help her with all the things she complains about. And I spend most tomorrow with her. I'm not looking forward to it. But I think it's something I want to do because I'm one of the few people in your life that actually made the effort to be with her and do things with her. But I don't think that her mind is capable of any of this. I do. I think, and that's my problem. like I said, I've known her for over 10 years.
Well, and some of it for you is, and so that's she has her path. I have a person I work with at the college, and I realized initially all she does is complain, right? So she complains, and that's her path, and it doesn't really, from my end, this. Okay. Um, and so but I can still be present with her. I can listen. And then what this person, I don't know about this one, is receptive to might work, might not. I don't know. But
I can't see her anymore.
right, right,
Myself. I don't
right.
want to be dragged down when I'm with
Yeah, yeah.
her. If you-
It's a good, I have a mentor who always asks me, is the universe doing it to you or for you? And it's a good question. I'm not saying I'm not in your situation. I do recognize there's certain situations in my life like, oh, right. And I kept going, so we get into patterns, we get into things. I have no, but, you know, is she going to change? But the only one we can change is us. That's where this comes in too. And how we interact with the world. Because has anyone ever, like you have that morning where, you kick something, you stub your toe, and then you knock something that breaks. You just get angry, angry, angry. Nothing works. And you realize you continue to set this thing in motion. The clerk is late, and this and that. No, I mean, right? And you're just like, and that's where you cut you make a break in it with something like just compassion for yourself for a moment, but to stop that thing going, because I've done it. I've generated things. I've come into things. When I was in New York City, I know I'll go one more minute. When I was in New York City and I was like, first there, I was like, kind of thought I have to survive, I have to get through. Somebody said, you better be careful. You're going to get hit, or something. And you realize you flow with it, and most things weren't out to get me. The most things weren't, there are things you have to be careful anywhere, but that's different. There's realities, but for the most part. And so how we interact, and maybe for you, what's your name again? Paula. I don't know. Maybe this is a great example. I mean, I know I would just go into that moment of how can I hold compassion for this most difficult situation, and I don't know what will happen, but it will help. Even if it doesn't do anything for her, it will help you hold on to more compassion. You're completely late, and I'm not going to ever do a meditation.
You know Hope, don't you?
Is that Hope?
Hope graduated from ESR in May.
Oh,
this year we graduated together. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
Well, welcome. What's your name?
Luke.
Luke and Hope.
Yeah.
Wow. This is incredible. Are you coming to the sermon in there? Are you going to come to the really? I don't think it's going to be very good. I know that.
We know who's speaking.
So, what I would say is that I know for me, it's a constant practice of, and I'll mention some of it in the sermon, but of coming back to the faith I believe in, and coming back to that belief that there is something divine, there is however you view God, all those things. That's another whole thing. But and that continual practice for my own self, because there's so many times where I've just thought, gosh, I'm supposed to suffer, and suffering makes me so much better than everyone else. Anyone done that here? And you're like, look at me suffering in it, and it's like, no, like I'm moving on to some other things. So, it's to continue to practice and take advantage of what comes up. So if I've comforted any of you, good. If I've conflicted any of you,
Better.
Thanks for coming this morning.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right.